You know, just like everybody else, I go through ups and downs in my shooting. Granted, now those ups and downs, that amplitude is much reduced from what it used to be, but I still have good days and bad days just like everybody else. But one of the things that helps me to get back on track is to start shooting at those longer distances. I feel like, you know, I'm standing at 15 yards right now. I feel like when you only shoot at, you know, 10, 15, 20, 25 yards, it can sometimes be easy to start letting things slip a little bit, because I know, you know, just the way your mind works, it's like, you know, subconsciously that at these closer distances, you can kind of relax a little bit. You can kind of let things slip a little bit and still make a good shot. But when you start to back things up, when you get to 45, 50, 60, 70 yards, there's no margin for error. And to be able to group arrows at those longer distances, you have to have a level of consistency from shot to shot that you just don't have to be able to make a decent shot on a target at these closer ranges. For some reason, people get worked up when I post videos about shooting at longer distances. Like they think that I'm promoting shooting at animals at, you know, 70 or 80 yards. It's a target. It's a foam target. It's practice. It helps you maintain consistency at, you know, acceptable hunting ranges. So when I'm at, so this is about 15 yards right here. The way that I have my broadheads oriented, they're vertical, and the top edge of my blade, I can use that basically like a sight pin. And so by having just that little bit extra at 15 yards, I'm able to put that just the top edge of that broadhead right on that deer's brisket. And it comes out to be a perfect height, which is about 7 inches higher than than the brisket is. These arrows are flying. This bow is 59 at 29, and these arrows are 65 pounds with 190s on the front. Perfect. Focus on the process. Focus on executing a good shot. Don't worry about so much exactly where the arrow goes. You know it's a good shot before, or you know it's a bad shot before the arrow even hits the target. You know if you pluck the string, you know immediately when that thing is released whether it's a good or a bad shot. I just picked this bow up, and retillered it a little bit. It was 63 at 29, which I can shoot, I just can't shoot it very well. But I took a little off of it, brought it down to 59 at 29. It's much more manageable now. I can shoot it a lot better. Doesn't sound like a lot, but just that little bit of reduction in weight makes a big difference. And change distances. Most of the hunting shots that I take, the farthest shot I ever took at an animal was 35 yards, and that was a bull back in 2015, I think. But most of the hunting situations that I find myself in are, you know, anywhere from 8 to maybe 18 or 20 yards, so relatively close. I just set myself up to be in those types of positions. So if you watch very many of my hunting videos or shooting videos, you'll notice that a lot of times I'll have a clicker on my bow, and I don't have one on this. A lot of people don't want to shoot with a clicker, but I get questions all the time from guys who are having troubles with consistency in their shot, and a lot of times that's due to collapsing on the shot. And a clicker, as much as people don't like them, it really is the fastest way to overcome that stuff. But once you train yourself to make that shot and to perform the motions that it takes to set that clicker off, which is basically just you should have that thing set. If you are shooting with a clicker, you should have it set to pop right when you're at anchor, and you just put a little bit of extra back tension on there, a little bit of expansion on there, and that should pop. But once you shoot with that thing over and over and over and over again, that shot activation movement just kind of embeds itself, and you can take the thing off and still have that motion embedded in your mind and embedded in your muscle memory. But you can also relapse if you take it off. If you're not careful, you have to really focus on coming into alignment and increasing that back tension before you let that string go. You know, I hit that one, I hit a little bit high on that. My left and right was good. I hit high, but that was not a good shot. Even if that had hit where I was looking, where I was aiming and intending to hit, it wouldn't have been a good shot. I don't know if you could see what my elbow did on that shot or not, but I didn't get the right amount of back tension there. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, the arrow's got to go somewhere, and it may go exactly where you're looking, but you know, still might not have. You might not have executed that shot perfectly, and I didn't on that one. Not focusing on what I'm doing. Let's say that I made that shot, and the arrow hits where I want it to go, but I didn't get into my back tension the way that I should have. Even though the arrow still hit in the spot that you wanted it to, it was not a good shot. And so if you're going to maintain consistency with this type of shooting, you've got to focus on getting into your back, and that's a hard thing to do without a mental trigger, to do that every single time, but it's so important. After I anchor, after I've got my aim, my conscious thoughts are going all to taking that elbow and rotating it around my body. I'm not really thinking about aiming, it just happens. A little bit high. Got to get an arm guard for this jacket. That's a good way to spook a deer. Bam. I like it. That'd be a short blood trail. This bow shoots, I can shoot it so much better now that I reduced the weight on it a little bit. Oh, what was that? See, I mean, you have a bad shot every now and then, and you got to stop. This is why I shoot one arrow at a time. It's like, what happened? It forces you to think about that. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. I wasn't getting all the way into my back. See, that's what I'm... See, with a clicker, you don't have to worry about that because you know, like when that clicker pops, you know, unless you're just increasing your draw, like pulling back, you know, if you're rotating, if you engage that clicker with a rotation, elbow back, you know you're there. But when you're relying on yourself without that mental trigger, it can be difficult. When I talk about this rotation of the elbow around the body, it's not really something that it's not something that you're going to be able to see. It's more just an increase of tension in the back rather than an actual like movement around. That was perfect. Not because I hit where I was aiming, but because everything went smoothly. I hit every step of my shot cycle and I hit it well. That was good. The problem with, see, a lot of people, when they don't have a mental trigger, when they don't have a clicker or some other psychological trigger, they get into the habit of, and this, again, this is something that I have kind of battled against forever. But when you don't have a mental trigger, you get into this habit of getting your tip about, if you're aiming, or even if you're not aiming, if you're instinctive shooting, and you get that correct sight picture, it's like, it's gone. You don't have time to evaluate your shot. And if you start going down that hill, it's like it leads to target panic, because you get that sight picture starting to look right, and then you just let it go. That's a bad path to travel down. It leads into darkness. Man, this thing's got a different sound to it when it hits in that worn out spot in the middle. I like that sound. If you guys have watched my whitetail hunting videos where we're chasing those deer around the mountains, that hunt, I actually wait to release those videos until the next year, because if you look at the search, the YouTube searches, nobody's searching for deer hunting in December, so I just hold those videos until the next year. But anyway, that hunt is coming up, and I think I've thought about giving away a couple of hunts, like 2 hunts, maybe one hog hunt down south, and then a spot at that whitetail camp. That's a hunt that I look forward to all year long. It's a fun hunt, lots of deer, good dudes. But if you're following along on Instagram and Patreon, that's where I'll post the details on that later on. So for those of you who've been following along with my YouTube channel for a while, you know, I've been looking at some other channels and that's experienced a lot of growth over the last couple of years, and the hunting public is one of them. But one of the things that I've noticed, and by the way, they put out some very good content, hunting content, if you haven't followed along with those guys. But one thing that I've noticed is the channels that are growing a lot are very consistent, for one thing, with their schedule, but they put out these series, and my channel has grown a lot. But you know, one week I'll have a hunting video, and then the next week I'll have a shooting video, and then hell, I might be doing some kind of primitive skills or something. Who knows? There's not very much consistency. And so I think next year I'm gonna focus on trying to, I don't know if I'll be able to do this or not, but I'm gonna try to put out a new hunting video every week. And we're headed down to Florida shortly after Christmas, and I've got some good hog hunting spots. I think they're gonna be good hog hunting spots. I was looking at my some aerial imagery on Onyx the other day, and I found some areas that I think are gonna be really good, but once I get down there, I'm gonna have to scout them out. But from the aerial imagery, they look really good. So we're gonna start off the new year in a new direction. There we go. Got to focus on that back.